Hello, Akira here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at rebalancing the FE8 promotions, and when I say we, I don't mean the royal we, I actually mean we plural, because I'm doing this with my good friend, Actual Lizard.
So, what we're doing here today is we're taking some of the classes, well, all of the classes from FE8, and rebalancing their promotion choices because a lot of them are pretty lopsided. But there's a couple things we wanted to mention before we do that.
Yeah, so firstly, we're going to be doing classes in order of recruitment, so if it seems like we're doing things out of order, that's why.
Yeah, you also may notice there's two of us, and with that in mind, we also split the video into two halves, so half of the classes are going to be on my channel, Actual Lizard, and the other half are going to be on Akira's channel.
Yeah, so no matter which side you're watching this from, because we're doing the same intro, check out the other side.
Yeah. We're also doing trainees at the end, even though we said we're doing them in recruitment order. We're not doing the trainees in recruitment order because they're very weird and different, so we're doing them separately.
The trainees are a whole moment. It takes a really long time to explain the trainees.
Yeah, that segment, I believe, is going to be about 35 minutes.
Yeah. We are also trying to, okay, so obviously as part of, our rebalance, we're going to be rebalancing different stats. However, one stat we're going to be trying to not move... One stat we're going to try to not move is move.
Yeah, we figured, we like that right now you can look at a unit and know how far they can move. Mm-hmm. We don't want people to have to, check movement range every time to see if the enemy has the move that you to see which version of the move the enemy has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like that mod of Engage which increases Armor Knight move, which realistically will just catch the player off guard more than anything.
Yeah. The other changes that we're making here will be considered in terms of how they apply to relevant units. So, an example of that is Gilliam. He is the only male Armor Knight, so he is the only unit that the male Armor Knight promotion bonuses matter for, so we're going to be looking at his stats and what he needs when looking at those promotion changes.
Yeah, so, in other words, it doesn't, it's not relevant to the context if we just, come up with, very generic contexts in which we're going to be applying these promotion bonus changes to, so we're thinking about these units specifically.
Yep, and lastly, we're not aiming for complete balance here. Our goal is to make changes, in some cases to make things more equal. I'd say usually to make things more equal, at least. But often to make choices more distinct and fun, because there's some classes that there's no great way to make them balanced without just kind of turning them into the same class.
Yeah, I mean, there's some classes there's no way of doing that without turning them into the same class, and then especially since we decided that we're not going to be changing move, there's only so much you can really do to balance things out entirely, right? So we might as well just try to make it more fun.
Yeah, so basically we're trying to keep some distinctiveness for each class, even at the cost of balance.
Mm-hmm. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so, let's start talking about Mercenary, aka just Gerik. So, Hero versus Ranger.
AKA, the choice everyone thinks is incredibly close, but I don't think is actually that close.
Yeah, I don't think it's that close either. It's just Hero. It is just Hero.
I think it's just Hero. I mean, I know there are some specific things Ranger can do in, 100% rigged LTC. But generally, I think it's just Hero.
Yeah. Gerik really appreciates the functionally 3-speed lead. Well, okay. It's really just, 1 in, most cases, because Gerik already has, huge con, right? But, it's nice he has the option. Unreasonably huge con.
To the point that it's a problem for him.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's so many units can't rescue Hero Gerik. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, if you want to pick Hero Gerik up, you have to use, a unpromoted Pegasus.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme. You can't even have, I don't think can you even have, you can't even have unpromoted Cormag rescue him, I'm pretty sure.
No, I believe it has to be a Pegasus Knight.
Yeah, it literally has to be, Vanessa Rotana. But, D axes for 1-2 range. Pretty nice. And also sword plus 40 is actually a big deal.
Yeah, I think people often think about Garm as being like the big winner of the legendary weapons, but it's actually on Homa. As long as your unit is like fast enough to double, on Homa just gives you so much might.
Yeah. Me, when 18 might sword, beating the allegations that swords are always weak weapons.
Yeah. Now, I will say, sometimes Gerik doesn't get enough speed to double. Like, on average, I would say that I think he does at most paces. But the growth is like 30%, so it is not reliable.
Oh yeah, not at all. Not at all.
So having the option to go Garm is nice for him.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, I just think it's just a home run for Hero, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The extra speed, I mean, we just talked about sometimes he doesn't get enough speed. The extra 1 point of speed is a big deal.
And, like, like, having 1-2 range is just, like, a really big boon. Like, we've somehow managed to, like, come across the scenario in which, like, the extra point of move doesn't automatically make range the best promotion.
Yeah, 1-2 range is just a really big deal, and bows are just really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And also that 1 speed is actually a pretty big deal for Gerik.
For sure, for sure. So, yeah, so what we decided to do to that is we decided to make it so that Ranger was faster. So, like, looking at the numbers that we changed, there is still, like, equal speed rating in terms of the combination of speed and con gains. But as we mentioned before, Gerik kind of large. So,
yeah. So Ranger Gerik can actually be picked up, too, is the other thing that's nice. Like, I would say Hero having +2 con is not, like, a great thing for Hero.
Yeah. There is a reason why we were like, we needed to make sure that changing the con of Ranger Namie didn't mean that she suddenly, like, could or could not pick up.
Yeah.
Gerik, like, that's a safe fixed.
And then we also added sword +40 to Ranger, to open up, like, just to make it a little easier to get to Odd Homa.
Yeah, like, the idea behind that was something that I pushed for, because, like, since I wanted Ranger to be, like, faster than Hero, in order to compensate for the 1-2 range, really, it would be kind of weird if, like, we're like, well, Ranger's good at boss killing, but it doesn't have the sword +40 for getting to Odd Homa faster.
Yeah, so this way, they both get to Odd Homa, and then Ranger has an easier time doing boss killing, because it has 1 point of strength and a little bit of speed. And as we mentioned, Gerik can sometimes not double things. So,
yeah,
the +2 speed is good, it makes him a little more reliable for boss killing, while Hero is going to have a better performance versus generics with that 1-2 range.
Yeah, so it entirely depends on, like, what you want him to do. Which, I mean, like, to be fair, like, obviously there are, like, other people you can have boss kill other than Gerik. So, like, you might still end up going Hero, but equally, Ranger is an enticing option if you do want to have him boss kill for you.
Yeah, I think you still might go Hero, depending on if you have another boss killer, but, like, it could also be a context-dependent thing. Like, I had in my last Fire Emblem 8 run, my Seth just didn't hit speed. So Gerik was my boss killer. Like, he just kind of fell into the role because Seth couldn't do it. So it can be a context-dependent thing where it's like, okay, my Seth has hit his levels, he's going to be a fine boss killer, I don't need Gerik to do it, so he'll go Hero. Or it could be like, okay, well, maybe my Seth is below average, maybe I got unlucky or made a mistake and Seth died.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden Ranger Gerik kills bosses. And does it with 1 less warp range.
True. Yeah, it's pretty nice, actually. So, yeah, that's Gerik. And now we move on to Troubadour, aka it's just Large Shell. So, like, the promo gains in this case are, like, if we're looking at the stats, they're extremely similar. Like, but then you look at the weapon ranks, and for some reason, Mage Knight gets C Anima, whereas Valkyrie gets D Light.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
Yeah. So, apparently, the extra point of res that Valkyrie gets is worth an extra rank of the already higher might weapon type.
Yeah, to be clear, Anima is just better than Light. So, it's strange that they don't just get the same rank, and 1 point of res does not make the difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand.
Although, I suppose, hypothetically, you could make the argument that we don't want La Rochelle to do any combat. And if we're not having La Rochelle do any combat, 1 point of res. But I guess in that framework, you probably also aren't having her get attacked, so...
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're gonna pretend that, like, that extra point of res matters for, like, status staves or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't understand. So, yeah, we decided to, like, swap the ranks. Like, Light is already weaker, so it just makes sense that if we're going to have a lead in the ranks of one of them, it should be the Light rank.
Yeah. And we think otherwise this promotion path is, like, fine.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that 1, the stat gains are already really similar, and 2, it's La Rochelle, so are you training her? But...
Yeah. I usually make this decision based on whether I want the funny hat or the cape, to be honest.
Yeah, I respect it, and also, same. But at least this way, now she can beat you senseless with her holy magic. Theoretically. Probably not.
True!
But yeah, it's a relatively simple one. Like, we didn't really change much at all. And functionally, I don't think we changed anything for most playthroughs. And now, Wyvern Rider, which is Cormag. So, like, we've got the exact same issue here that we had back with, like, the Pegasi, where Knight is just faster.
By a lot.
By a lot.
Like, just 3 points of raw speed.
Yeah. Because, like, the thing about Cormag is that, like, he joins you unpromoted, and, like, his con is already enough for everything that you really want him to do, to be honest.
And he actually needs that speed.
Yeah.
Like, he actually needs more than that speed. Sometimes you give him that, and then you give him a speed wing.
And, like we mentioned, like, in Lizard's half about Pierce is actually a thing. So, like, the fact that Knight gets this speed, and then also has Pierce, like, it just doesn't... Like, Lord just isn't competitive with its 1 con and 1 point of strength and D swords.
Yeah, the D swords just don't matter.
Yeah.
I would say the only leads that are meaningful... 2 defense is a thing.
Yeah, 2 defense is a thing.
And the 1 strength is also a thing. But 3 speed! 1 strength pales in comparison to doubling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not a contest here. Like, it's just Wyvern Knight. It's just the, like, really, like, obviously, like, optimal choice.
Although, I suppose the Canon class must be Lord, because I noticed the little heroes art of him in the corner. The dragon has front hands, and Wyvern Knight dragons do not.
Oh! That's true, which we will see as we move on to this slide, where in the bottom right corner we have the Wyvern Lord that looks very, very similar to the Wyvern Rider. And then in the top left we have the Wyvern question mark for Wyvern Knight.
Who, for some reason, does not have front arms.
Yeah. Your reaction when I pointed this out to you was so funny, because I only noticed it during, like, the Oops All Lotches LTC when I was like, well, we're finishing this, so let's draw something to, like, commemorate Gilliam being, like, amazing. And then I was like, wait, where are the arms?
Well, I literally... So did you draw it without arms in the drawing? I literally think I, like, auto-corrected in my... Because I saw that drawing, and it did not register as weird to me. I think every time I've seen a Wyvern Knight, I just imagine a pair of arms.
Well, you see, it was also partly intentional, because when I drew it, I was like, it's gonna look weird if it's really obvious it doesn't have arms, so I'm gonna, like, draw it at an angle where, like, you could theoretically just not notice that it doesn't have arms.
Oh, okay, so you tricked me.
Exactly. But yeah. So we changed some things, obviously. So we really increased Lord's strength lead by just increasing the strength by 1. So now we've got like 3 strength versus 1 strength, which I think you'll agree is a pretty big difference.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely things you would like to do 2 more damage to.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, what else do you think about the changes that we made to Wyvern Lord?
We also reduced the speed lead that Knight has to just 1. And we did that by increasing Lord speed because Cormag needs the speed. So we didn't want to reduce Knight. We'd rather add to Lord. We also added a point of con to Lord. Con isn't the most important to Cormag, but on the heaviest weapons, it does matter. So that's like a point of speed, like pretty situationally. And then we increased D swords to C swords because, I don't know, it feels bad to get a new weapon and you get D rank, especially for a unit that promotes in like the mid game, and especially if it's swords. Like what, we're gonna have Cormag use iron swords? Come on.
Yeah, no, that sounds so bad. But essentially, like, yeah, the idea was to kind of make Wyvern Lord like the more reliable one compared to Wyvern Knight's ability to use Pierce, right? Like, it's stronger. Overall, it does have a higher speed rating, although, as we kind of said before, the con isn't that big of a deal, really. And then, like, we do have weapon triangle control, technically, right?
Yeah, whereas what you're getting out of Knight is you're getting that constant point of speed with lighter weapons, and you got Pierce.
Yeah.
And a point of res.
Yo! Gains! That's value right there, I tell you. But yeah, we thought that, like, well, I mean, you're probably better explaining this because you're the one who thought this. Like, what we thought about, like, the Wyvern Knight, Wyvern Lord split, depending on the route choice.
Oh, yeah, so I think that Cormag's an interesting unit in the route split because he's a lot more important in Ephraim route, where he's fairly likely to be one of your, like, best choices as a carry because you get him earlier with similar bases. I don't think they're exactly the same, but they're pretty similar. Whereas you get him in Erica route and you already have Vanessa. Well, I mean, you already have Vanessa in both routes, but you've had Vanessa for longer. Vanessa, you've had her, she's been promoted, she's had time to gain levels, to the point where she ends up being more reliable for a lot of the stuff that Cormag does on Ephraim route. Like, you can just... Cormag in Ephraim route, one of the big things he does is he goes down and he kills Falter. But Vanessa can do that in Erica route.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're using him for more, like, filler combat, you might like Lord, especially because he's not going to get the speed wings in Erica route, so he's not going to double everything.
Yeah, no way.
So, like, you might just take the more reliable combat for, like, shipping, carrying dudes around. You like the extra bulk for that. Whereas in Ephraim route, you want all the speed you can get on Cormag if you're going to use him as, like, a primary combat unit, maybe a boss killer sometimes.
Yeah. So, once again, it was kind of like going between, like, the idea of, like, Wyvern Knight being, you know, the, like, less reliable but potentially more flashy one with Pierce, whereas Lord is more reliable, similarly to how we made Falco more reliable than Wyvern Knight for the Pegasi. Then, next, we have the Shaman, aka Knoll. Okay, it's also known as potentially another unit, but we'll ignore that for now. We're getting onto the Trainees later. Yeah, we're getting to the Trainees very shortly, actually, because Knoll's the final unit, but we have the Trainees. But yeah, Druid versus Summoner. What do you think of those promo gain differences?
This one's weird. You would think...
Yeah.
So Summoner gets to summon, right? And that's, like, pretty unique utility. So you would think that Druid would be, like, better at combat. But it's not. They have the same magic, same speed. I guess it has 1 defense. If you care. It actually has less skill. Which for most units isn't that important, but it kind of is for Knoll.
Because,
Knoll has accuracy
Knoll's
problems.
Hit is, like, so dire, it's so sad.
Yeah, so, like, I'm not gonna say the 1 point of skill is, like, a huge deal, but, like...
Yeah, I really want
You'd
him
really
to have,
like to have that
2
point of
more
skill.
hit. Like, please, anything to increase his hit, I beg.
But like, the issue being here is both of these options are bad for combat.
Oh yeah,
Knoll's not
like,
good at
Knoll's
combat
luck issue
in
is
either
real.
one of them. But at least Summoner gets something to do instead of combat. Whereas Druid is stuck on the same bad staff rank with the same bad combat.
But Lizard, what
stats and
about
no special utility?
Yeah, but Lizard, what about that
you
D-Anima
get
magic?
Anima
You know,
magic.
the tome type which has less might than dark magic that you already have.
I guess if you want to,
I guess it's more accurate, but like,
you can
come
use
on,
fire if
please.
You want. Yeah, we're pretty sad.
Yeah, it's really sad at that
resorting
point.
To, like, using
So
fire
yeah,
on Knoll for
as a result of that,
reliability.
we unsurprisingly made Druid a lot better at combat. Yeah, because just like Arthur back on Lizard's
This was
side,
the other unit we gave a luck bonus to.
Knoll needs it. Yeah, it's
the luck
it
base
is
of Knoll is
one of the
actually
luck bases of all time. He's another unit that's just really awful to use on an Iron Man, because like he exists and you literally just look at his stats and you're like, this unit is just never meant to see combat ever.
Well, and his crit problems are even worse than Ardor's, because at least for Ardor, like, Ardor faces crit from everybody, but at least it's usually in, like, the 3 to 6% range. Usually. Knoll is in, like, the... more like the 8 to 12% range pretty often.
Yeah. No, it's bad. So yeah, we decided that we were going to give him 4 luck. It was really funny. Originally, Lizard was like, how would you feel if we decided to give Druid 8 luck? We decided that was a bit too much, though, in the end. Yeah, we wanted the idea to be that, like, immediately promoted Druid Knoll, like, still faces some chance of getting crit on Chapter 15 by, like, the Mercs, but now he no longer gets crit by the fighters, right?
Yeah. Well, plus, this way, now he has a 5% chance of picking up the silver card.
Yo! Wait, it's 6, because it's luck plus 1%.
Oh, you're right, it's 6%. Even better. Even better.
Even better! But yeah, we also decided to give Druid plus 2 magic, because I don't... none of us understood, like, why it doesn't have more magic, or, like, we didn't understand why it doesn't have a magic gain at all, but, like, we didn't understand why it would have, like...
Yeah, like, it seems like it should do combat better than Summoner. Or have better staff rank. We decided both.
Yeah, we decided on both, because, like... I mean, it's interesting, because, like, both of us are also not that high on summons, and that is something that I want to make a video on at some point. But, like, it is something, right? Like, summons are good on egg map.
Yes, it is something. It gives him, like, unique utility on 1 map, right? Or 2 maps, technically. There's, like, a weird, like, summon rescue drop thing you can do in Chapter 16. But, like...
Okay, I see it, yeah.
But you're never gonna do it in a regular playthrough. It's like a weird LTC thing, and I don't even know if it saves you a turn.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I've heard Jumpy talk about doing that. I think it was Jumpy.
Mm. Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, like, Knoll isn't around for very long, and like, summon means that he's guaranteed to be useful on egg map. Like, so like, that's him actually being useful for like a chunk of his existence, whereas like previously Druid didn't really have that, and still arguably Druid doesn't necessarily really have that, because like having C staves at the point in time when Knoll joins, he's probably not your warper.
Well, he doesn't have the magic to make it worth your while. Like, Saleh can also join with C staves in the same chapter on Ephraim route. But the reason you're willing to put up with that from Saleh is because Saleh opens up the big warp in the final map. Knoll does not.
And also because Saleh doesn't like face the chance of getting completely disintegrated anytime that an enemy swings a weapon at him.
Well, yeah, and also, like, Saleh's just good, right? Like, like, you could have him run up and barrier someone and then maybe fight something on enemy phase, and it's fine. You don't want Knoll doing that.
No. But, like, at the very least, like, the idea with, like, giving Druid, like, more ranks, we decided that we'd give, like, C-staves instead of that awful starting rank of E-staves. Like, I don't know. I just don't get it.
We even bumped Summoner up to D because...
Yeah.
E-staves is just depressing. In Chapter 15? Come on.
Yeah, it's really pathetic. But then we also decided to just give, like, Druid, like, C Anima as well, because, like, I guess why not, really?
Yeah, that was another one of those where, like, anytime we saw a weapon where we were like, okay, this unit promotes and gets a useless weapon type, well, maybe not, useless may be too strong, not useful weapon type, we just bumped it up to C, because at least then maybe we can do something fun with it.
Yeah, especially for, like, a late joiner, like Knoll, right? Because, like...
Yeah, because there's no time to increase the rank.
Yeah, whereas someone like Garcia, like back with Fighter, we didn't increase, like, D-bows or D-swords up to C, but, like, he joined early, so, like, you actually could raise it if you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Knoll. We kind of just made Druid, like, markedly better at combat and also non-summon utility, but still, like, I think there's a very real chance that, like, you still might just prefer to go Summoner with him, so he can definitely do something on one map.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Summoner is probably still ultimately better, but, like, at least, like, if you wanted to use Knoll as a combat unit, I think you could go Druid and use him as a combat unit, and it would be okay.
Yeah, it would be okay. Like, as we said, it wouldn't be great, but it would be okay. Right?
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for that, especially because you get an S-rank Dark Tome, so it would be nice if there was, like, a decent, like, dark magic unit you could use to use that.
You say that as though that tome doesn't literally have, like, lead brick weight.
I'm not saying it's good or that you should use it. Just, it's in the game. I think a lot of players would like if they could use it.
That's true, that's true. Okay, so that's been Knoll, and that unfortunately means that now we're probably going to spend about half an hour or more talking about the trainees.
Can I ask you a question, Akira?
Yes, please do.
Which is your favorite trainee?
I mean, I think my favorite trainee might be Ross, just because he actually does join the earliest, and because, like, well, I think people overstate the importance of it when they don't LTC, especially. Like, Ross can save you a turn via, like, the drops across the river in Chapter 7, and also, like, he can be used in some clears of Chapter 6 to help drop Seth across the mountain, so you can achieve a 2-turn of that map compared to the very free turn of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think power-wise, you're right, it's definitely Ross, but I've been having a lot of fun with Amelia in our FE8 relay.
Ah, the relay.
Has improved my perception.
You say that after you gave her, like, a bunch of stat boosters.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was no favoritism involved. Let's talk about Ewan.
Okay, let's talk about Ewan. So, obviously, like, probably anyone who's watched this file, like, knows how the trainees kind of work. But, just kind of as a recap for the uninitiated, or just, like, general context, the trainees are weird. They promote from their Tier 0 class into one of their Tier 1 classes, and then from there they can promote into Tier 2 classes. So they go from, like, this trainee class to base class to advanced class. In the case of Ewan, that means that from pupil, he can promote into mage, and thus go into either sage or mage knight from there, and from shaman, he can go into either druid or summoner. So what this means is that any changes that we made to Knoll, we've also applied to Ewan now. Which is, like, it's fine. It's fine, right?
Yeah. Ewan's weird.
Yeah. At the very least, like, it does mean that, like, you technically get something out of if you were going to make him go Dark Mage, right? Because we did look at the stats, and, like, you know, Ewan does at the equivalent level, which is also, you know, a broad assumption to be a very bold assumption to be making. But, like, he does have better combat stats.
He
than
does,
his
yes.
Knoll.
So if you want to do what I was talking about earlier, and you're like, I really want to use, what is it, Gleipnir?
Yeah.
Glepner.
Yeah, that's it.
This would be the better option if you're like, I really want a good dark magic user because I want to use all the S rank weapons. Well, okay. Ewan is gonna be the best at it.
Yeah. Like, it's really funny, like, even though, like, Glepner is, like, really heavy, like, it's not even the case that he gets weighed down by it more than Knoll does.
Yeah. One interesting thing to note with Ewan is because he starts with an anima rank, when you promote him from trainee to shaman, he actually loses his anima rank.
Yep, which we will go into when we look at the transition into the tier 1 classes. So yeah, they straight up just set his anima rank to 0 upon promotion to Dark Mage.
Although I think the change we made to Druid actually kind of counteracts that, because were you gonna get him to see anima anyway by level 10? Probably not.
No, I don't think so. I highly doubt it, you're right. But yeah. So, because the trainees obviously promote from their pupil class into tier 1 classes, it means that they've got these additional promo gains into, like, their tier 1 classes. And, yeah, so as we can see there, we've got the anima equals 0 for the Dark Mage, right?
Yep.
And it's just easier to leave these alone. It's easier to just, like, change what we're doing when we're promoting from tier 1 into tier 2. Because otherwise we end up in, like, this really weird thing where, like, the trainees also feel them just, like, slightly easier to train while they're in tier 1, which I think kind of defeats the point, personally.
Yeah. One interesting thing about this that I'm just noticing is it's kind of weird that, like, all of the promotions from Mage give magic, and none of the Dark Mage ones do.
Yeah.
But Dark Mage is the one that gives magic of the tier 1 promotion. So it's kind of like in the base game, if you promote into Dark Mage instead of Mage, it's like at the end of the day, you get a similar amount of magic. It's just in Mage, it's like on an installment plan.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of similar to, like, what we were saying, back on, like, your half of this, where we were talking about, like, Sage getting less magic than Bishop, where it almost looks like when they've got, like, the choice for, like, I don't know, they're like, well, Dark Magic is stronger, so we're not going to give them any magic on promo, whereas Anima Magic is weaker compared to Dark Magic, so it can get some.
Yeah, I think this is also just something they liked doing with the trainee units, because they do it again with Ross, but we'll get into that when we get to Ross.
Yeah, it's weird, but yeah, we're leaving the tier 1 stuff alone. It's just easier this way. So what we're going to be looking at instead is we're going to be looking at specifically the Mage M, which is Ewan, because we don't get another male Mage, because we've already kind of made our changes to Shaman, and, like, it's the same class that he goes into as Knoll starts in, so it's just, like, annoying to have to come up with them individually. So, like, we're just sticking with those changes that we made for Knoll, for Ewan as well. So, this is kind of similar to the loot moment, but what do you think about this? What do you think about these promo gains?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Mage Knight is just better, right?
Yeah.
Better combat, better speed, because of the con moment.
Yeah.
And the exact same staff utility. So unless you, for some reason, really value light magic, or a point of defense, there's really no reason to go Sage.
Yeah, and also remember, it's not just light magic, it's D rank light magic, bearing in mind that Ewan, at the point of being able to promote into a Sage, it'll be pretty late into the game.
Yeah. I also think that female Sage has more Riz than male Sage, so, like, at least Loot has that going for Sage, but I don't think Ewan does as much.
Yeah, I see it, for sure. But yeah, so in terms of the change that we decided to make, it's kind of similar to what we did back with Loot, where we gave Sage more magic. We gave it +2 magic compared to before, and we took away a point of magic from Mage Knight as well. And we also, like, got rid of the speed rating increased disparity by giving Sage +2 speed.
Yeah, so now, like, again, you pick Sage if you want the better combat, or I would say if you want to warp. It's pretty tight to get you into warp.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, maybe you could cast Restore. Or no, is Restore D rank? I actually don't remember.
Well, I mean, we don't need to worry about that, because we also increased the staff rank of Sage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Does that get us any new staves? Like, assuming that, like, if we assume he doesn't get to warp, because I feel like him getting to warp is optimistic.
But definitely it is too optimistic to assume that we're getting him to warp rank. Maybe if you get him to, like, heal people a lot, maybe you get him to rescue, I don't know. But, like, you know, it's an option that exists, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, you could get him to, like... Okay. It does unlock some stabs.
Okay.
C gets him Restore right away.
Okay.
And Recover. You get Physic at B.
Mm-hmm.
And then Barrier and Hamern are also C. And then, like, all the status staves are B as well. For however many of them you get.
Okay, well, I mean, Barrier is very good for grinding up weapon rank, so... Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, some of those are just, like, real stabs, right? Like, if he can get to Physic, great. Physic is cool.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, just having, like, a free Hamern user can be really handy sometimes, right?
Yeah, because sometimes, like, your Warper is also the one holding Hamern. And it's like, man, I really wish I could, like, have another staff user to repair the Warp or whatever. So yeah, there's some things you get out of C staves, but he's probably not getting to Warp.
Yeah, definitely. But, like, this is just kind of, like, changes that we made based on that. But anyway, so as a result of, like, having these tier 1 and also, like, into tier 1 and also these into tier 2 promo gains, it means that now we have, like, this kind of really annoying looking table here. Which, if you look at this and you're like, this is really overwhelming, don't worry, it's also a bit overwhelming here as well. Especially since this is the vanilla gains, and we haven't even, like, actually looked at the comparisons. So, if we look at this now, actually color-coded thing, I have highlighted, like, where, like, all the highest stats are, with there being, like, a specific different color when we're looking at speed rating, which is in blue. So this is in vanilla, which, you know, we changed. But, like, as you can kind of see in, like, the original version of the promotion gains, like, weirdly, like, Sage ended up being, like, the bulkiest in terms of, like, raw bulk.
For some reason, they really like giving Sage defense. I think every version of defense or every version of Sage in vanilla gets 3 defense, I think.
I think so, yeah. And then, like, funnily enough, all of Mage Knight, Druid, and Summoner have the same speed rating, because, like, they decided that Druid and Summoner both get free speed on promo, and then Mage Knight gets all the con on promo.
Yes, and Ewan does not have high con by default, so, I mean, when you're not using the lightest of weapons, you do care about that con, and you're going to want to use heavier weapons, because his magic's not that good.
Yeah. Anyway, this is what it looks like in vanilla, and we're obviously changing that. So, if we move on to the next slide, we will see this is what we've actually changed based off of all of that. Once again, I understand if this looks a bit overwhelming. This is just kind of like the summary of all the changes that we really made, and those changes that we made aren't to the tier 1 promotions, it's to going into tier 2. But basically, like, Sage and Druid are your actual, like, combat classes, whereas, like, Mage Knight gets places faster, and Summoner, you know, summons, right?
Yep.
But, yeah, in terms of, like, how it's kind of, like, changed things, Sage is now, like, clearly superior here in terms of, like, pure magic stat.
What do you think is the earliest reasonable promotion chapter for Ewan? Like, if we're not, like, slowing down.
Uh-huh. Yeah, when you said that, I was, like, assuming that we're not slowing down and that we're not going to the Tower of Olney.
Yeah, like, assuming we're not towering, we're not, you know, maybe we're not going at an LTC pace, but we're not, like, you know, boxing in an archer or something.
Okay, Ephraim or Elkarout? Which one?
Is it the same chapter for both, or does he come earlier in one of them?
It's the same for both of them.
Okay, I mean, let's say Ephraim route, because that's the one that you play more.
Okay. So Ephraim route. Realistically, by the point in time that he joins, he's not going to be getting very many kills, but probably you could get him like a tiny bit of chip. No, you couldn't. You could not get him a tiny bit of chip experience because he has to go and recruit. Actually, no. You can just kill Marissa.
Yeah, let's say we sacrifice Marissa on the altar of promoting Ewan earlier.
Okay. The thing is though, that doesn't even change anything because I don't think he's not getting to level 10 in his unpromoted class, in like his tier 0 class by the end of that chapter.
No. I'm just trying to determine like when does he get to be able to be a summoner?
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like the thing is though, for both like chapter 13s of both routes, I don't think that like you really want him around. Like Hamel Canyon on Erica's route, you obviously just don't want around because like huge liability mode.
Yeah, he's a headache if you bring him to Hamel Canyon.
But I would also consider him to be a liability on Floorspell's Oath as well, because that can be quite a tricky map.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't put him in bolting range.
Yeah, no. And then okay, Erica chapter 14, you could definitely get him to level 10 unpromoted, because Queen of White Dunes is...
Yeah, lots of enemies, lots of choke points. Yeah.
Yeah. Would I...
We're even usually delayed on that map because someone has to sit there whacking Carlisle until he finally gets hit. So...
Yeah, exactly. So you can take the time to train up Ewan a bit, right? Chapter 14 Ephraim, I don't want to bring him. I don't want to bring him to Father and Son.
Yeah. So I guess it sounds like, so then he has to get like 10 more levels, starting from chapter 15 in Erica route. Can we reasonably, how reasonable is it to have Ewan in Summoner by Egg Map if we don't slow down?
I mean, I think it's extremely unreasonable, but to be fair, I don't think that changes anything about Vanilla because I feel like it's extremely unreasonable to get Ewan to promotion level anyway.
Oh yeah, I was just curious because like, that's like the map where you want a Summoner, right? Like, if we're promoting him after that map, Summoner looks pretty bad.
Yeah, okay, wait, so assuming that we're going Erica route, I do think that you can have him, like, as a Shaman for chapter 15, right?
I agree.
And I think that on chapter 15... I don't know, it depends on how slowly you're taking it, right?
Yeah.
Because, like... Route maps are interesting in the sense that, like, if you're not actively helping to clear, you're a hindrance. And Ewan is definitely not helping to clear, relative to your other options.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess if we're just trying to bring him and, like, to bring him on his journey of self-improvement, there are a lot of kills he could grab on that map.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, like, I feel like if you wanted to baby him a little without slowing down too much, you could probably get him there by Egg Map.
Yeah, I think so, I think so.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, Summoner's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like as we said before, if you want an actual combat druid, then Ewan's your guy, maybe, I guess. Ignore the fact that you actually have to train him from level 1 Shaman in chapter 15, whereas Knoll's actually just there, but ignore that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now we get to move on to Ross. And unlike Ewan, where we kind of had like 4 tier 2 promotion options, here we just have 3. So if Lizard, you'd like to explain Ross's classing tree?
Yes, so Ross is the trainee you get early in the game, which is nice. He can actually promote to tier 1 while other units are also still tier 1s. And the tier 1s he has access to are Fighter, like his Pops, or Pirate if he takes to the high seas. And both of those have one shared promotion option, Warrior, and then both of them have one good promotion option. The Pirate can go into Berserker, and the Fighter can go into Hero.
Mm-hmm. So, like, this is, like, a pattern that's also shared by a trainee that we'll go into later. Not right now, because we're talking about Ross. But, like, that is shared by Amelia, where, like, both Cavalier and Knight have the shared promotion option of Great Knight. Whereas, like, there's the other options that are unique, and you have to go into the specific class line of Paladin for Cavalier and General for Knight, respectively. But, back to Ross. So, I'm not going to lie, making all of these things for the trainees was extremely painful, so you're going to have to forgive me for just superimposing the promo gains onto the exact same tree from before.
We'll tell you the important numbers. The important number, literally one of the only numbers we're looking at here is the speed.
Yeah. Which is the 4th one, which is somewhat unhelpfully the like close to the middle one, but like we will be looking at the numbers in actual comparison later anyway.
Yeah.
So let's just focus on like the other things they have. So hero, swords, warrior, bows, berserker, crit plus 15, water walking, mountain walking. Admittedly, not all of that is new. Water walking and mountain walking is also a thing that pirate can do.
Though you do lose it if you go warrior.
Yeah, you can lose it, so it feels bad, right?
Although I suppose if you're playing Erica route, by the time you lose it, you're done with it.
That's true, actually.
Because in Erica route, it's really only relevant in the beginning of the game.
That's true, that's true. But yeah. That doesn't make it good, because, like, one number that is there is that Berserker gets point of speed, whereas Warrior from Pirate does not. So,
yeah.
Hooray.
I will. One thing that Ross does have going for Warrior is still not a class you should go. But one thing it has going for Ross that it does not for Garcia is since Ross can go through Pirate to get to it, he can be in Warrior and still have gotten 1 point of speed. Whereas Garcia, if he goes Warrior, he is cursed to gain no points of speed from his promo options.
Funnily enough, that's actually brought us on to what like my next point was, which was something that I noticed when I was totaling up all the promo gains across the things, which is that if you go through Fighter and you go through Pirate, you get slightly different promo gains. Like, okay, they're not like massively different. Like, Fighter gets 1 more point of skill and 1 more point of res, whereas Pirate gets 1 more point of speed, which is actually like a stat, and 1 more point of defense, which is also actually a stat, right?
Yeah, if you want to go Warrior on Ross, you should go through Pirate.
Yeah. But, like, it's just something that I thought was really cool when I noticed it, right? Because, like, GBA growths, like, they're not what we're used to in modern FE, where, like, they're actual class growths, right? But this kind of simulates that, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I like it. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like, if you... I don't know. If you end up at the same destination from different places, it makes sense that the stats would be a little different.
For sure. So, yeah. Once again, we're not changing fighter stats, so we're just pulling that from Garcia because it's easier that way. And also because, like, I feel like any of the changes that we kind of made here also benefit Ross if we were to go through fighter for him anyway.
Yes. I would agree.
So really that just means that we're looking at Pirate, right? So if we're looking at Pirate's promotions, like, it's just clearly a win for Berserker because that 1 point of speed, right?
Yeah, I also think the crit plus 15 is the thing too. It, you know, at least that means like when Ross doesn't double, sometimes he crits. Especially if you give him a killer axe, it's you kill more things in Berserker than you do in Warrior.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I thought it was really interesting here that, like, Warrior and Berserker both gave the same amount of strength. Like, that just seems off to me.
See, this one is more forgivable to me than Hero and Warrior having the same strength, because I think of both of these as, like, big, burly, strong classes. It's kind of weird that it's just 1 point of strength.
Yeah.
Like, you would think that these promotions would give, like, quite a bit of strength, but they do not.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things of, like, you know, we both know, like, a lot of benchmarks relating to Sacred Stones. Like, it's not like an extra point of strength hit, like, on both of them, actually, would really make that much difference, but it does feel weird. It does feel weird.
Well, and also, I feel like the Fighter and Pirate promotions got kind of screwed, because for a lot of other classes, when they make the stats be, like, thematically at odds with what you would expect, it's to make the class better. Like, you wouldn't think General would get 3 speed, but General needs 3 speed.
True. Yeah, it does.
Whereas, like, Warrior, it's like, okay, we don't get strength and we don't get speed.
Yeah. Part of me wonders as well if, like, Pirate is kind of affected by this in a way that, like, other classes aren't in terms of promo gains, because of the fact that, like the Trainees in FE8 are weird. Like, even though, like, the idea of the Trainee archetype is that, like, typically they have, like, above average growths, none of the Trainees have good growths.
No, that's actually, like, particularly Ewan, when we were looking at it, we were like, man, even if you level him up, he just doesn't end up that good.
Yeah, I know, like, when we were looking at, like, all the Sage calculations especially, we were like, wow, we made loot so much better as a unit, And we haven't made a difference to Ewan at all as a unit in this case.
Yeah, because fundamentally his stats just aren't good enough. Whereas with Lute, giving her C staves is like, okay, now she can get to warp and she can hit the Sale warp range. Ewan doesn't. Well, I mean, I think he can eventually, if I remember correctly, but it's real late.
It's real late, and like as we kind of established, like he's not getting to like he's not getting to tier 2 for real late as well. Yeah. But yeah, like the trainees, because the trainees like have these bad growths, I think the idea is that they're meant to get like more levels, and I think that maybe like Pirate has been affected by this, because like all the other classes are either like they either apply to someone else, so like Shaman applies to Ewan and it applies to Knoll. Like it always applies to Knoll, it just happens to also apply to Ewan.
Yes.
And then even like male mage is like a different gendered counterpart of a class that exists for another unit, female mage. Whereas Pirate doesn't have that.
Yeah, because Pirate is just for Ross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, that might be reaching a bit far, given that, like, you know, +3 defense, +3 res, +3 con. Like, those are, like, big numbers you would expect from, like, promo gains. But I wonder if, like, maybe the strength is part of that as well.
Yeah, I could see that. Although it doesn't explain Warrior having 1 strength from Fighter.
No, it does not. But, yeah. So, in terms of the changes that we made, like, Warrior has to have rally strength, right? Because that's what we did to Warrior when we were doing Fighter, right?
I will say one thing I like about Warrior with rally strength for Ross specifically is because, like in vanilla FE, you're basically choosing between Berserker and Hero.
Yes. Because
they both get 2 speed. But because Berserker's 2 speed comes on like an installment plan where you get 1 from Pirate, like Warrior, but with 1 extra speed from Pirate and rally strength, sounds okay to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
You probably still want to go Berserker if you want him to be like the best combat unit he can be, because he wants both points of speed. But
yeah.
But it is nice that, like, if you're like, oh, I want a rally strength warrior, you can take Ross through Pirate and get a little extra speed. I think that's neat.
Yeah, like, it's the less contested promo item, the Ocean's Crest, compared to, like, the Hero Crest anyway.
You weren't gonna promote Colm?
Yes, I was totally gonna promote him into an assassin, you know. But yeah, and, like, we also just gave Berserker an extra point of strength, which I wanted to do for flavor reasons, but as we've said, doesn't actually matter for reaching any important benchmarks, right?
Yeah, Warrior Ross is plenty strong, Berserker Ross is plenty strong, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. So, once again, we have this, awful... it might even be worse than the Ewan graph, because, like...
Well, this one has the funny part in the middle.
Yeah. So the funny part in the middle is because of the fact that, like, in the top half, that's what you get from going through Fighter, and the bottom half is what you get through going through Pirate. The reason why there's, like, 1 box for, like, the ones on the edges is because those are the numbers that are the same. But it's really, really ugly to look at.
Yeah. But you can see what we were talking about here with, like, if you go through Pirate to get to Warrior, you get 1 speed.
Yeah. Which is something. Like, Ross appreciates all the speed he can get.
Yep.
But, yeah. Like, once again, like, going and looking at, like, the highlighted version, like, both, like, Hero and Berserker gain the same amount of HP. Berserker has, like, a higher speed rating than Hero and Warrior do, because of the con bonus, especially. And, like, Warrior has, like, the dubious honor of being the bulkiest in terms of, like, raw defensive stats, which I don't think matters.
Yeah, something interesting about Ross that I don't know if people always expect is his con is actually lower than you might think.
Yep.
He does, like, in his tier 1 class, he actually does get slowed down by hand axe, for example.
Yeah. Quite significant, yeah. Even in Hero, right? Like, he still gets weighed down by 1, I believe.
Ross he comes with 8 con.
And Hero gives him 3. Yeah, so he's weighed down by 1. But yeah, this is what the vanilla version looks like, and once again, it gets changed, it gets updated. So, Hero gets, like, slightly faster, and Funnily enough, we've now ended up in this weird situation where, like, if you go through fighter to get to warrior, you gain an extra point of strength compared to if you go through pirate for warrior.
Yeah. I still think that, like, Berserker's probably the most enticing option.
I agree.
But not even because warrior isn't good, but just because, like, if you want a warrior to rally strength,
just use Garcia.
Just use Garcia, right? Like, then we're not that worried about the stats, so we can just skip the trainee arc.
Yeah, so, like, we just kind of have to, I guess, live with it. But if we're kind of looking through, like, the stats anyway, like, Berserker still has, like, the highest functional.
Yeah, well, and I think, like, if you're just using Ross, like, maybe you're not worried about doing, like, the most optimal thing. You just want to use Ross.
Yeah, which is fine.
Then, like, Warrior's a fine option with Rally Strength.
But yeah, so, like, if we look at, like, these updated, like, pathing gains, Berserker still has the highest speed rating, Hero and Berserker both have, like, the same amount I don't know, I find it weird, actually, that, like, we've now ended up in this situation. Well, actually, no, even the original situation had it such that, like, Hero and Berserker got more HP than Warrior, but, I mean, it's fine, because, like, it doesn't matter.
Hero's the odd duck to me there. Like, Warrior and Berserker, if they had the same HP, would be whatever to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But it does feel like they should have more HP than Hero.
Yeah. But at any rate, like, we just kind of made Berserker a bit... Really, what we just kind of did is we just made, like, Hero a bit faster, and we made Berserker a bit stronger, which are things that... Ross appreciates the speed from Hero, but also, like, you're not sending him a Hero, probably.
Yeah, well, I think it gives Hero an actual niche, because in vanilla play, you would never go Hero on Ross.
Yeah. No.
Because they have the same speed, but on Berserker you get the crit, and you get the water and mountain walking, which has, like, fringe use cases, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, okay, you might go Hero, I guess, if you want him to double another thing. But there's like a thing you could go Hero to do now.
That's true. Now it's time for everyone's favorite unit that's good in general, Amelia.
My favorite unit. You can't say she's good in general. You made her a knight in the or a cavalier in the relay.
That's true, I did. But I mean, then you made her a great knight anyway, so we still end up in an armor result.
That's true, but we didn't get general.
True. But yeah, once again, we end up with, like, different stats being gained by going through different tree routes, and we're just gonna go, like, straight into, like, the total pathing gains, because, like, you can tell at this point that I was just so done with these tables. But yeah, like, basically, if you go through, if you go through Knight to get to General, you get an extra point of strength, you get 2 extra points of defense, you get 1 point less of speed, and 2 points less of res than if you were to go through Cavalier for it, which makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I see it, all of it.
I do think it's interesting, though, that General ends up with less speed than Paladin, because, like, the Gilliam promotion is, like, 3 speed, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that what is it for Amelia? Is 3 coming from General, or is any of that coming from Knight?
2 is coming from promotion to General, because she gets 1 point of speed upon promoting into Knight.
Okay. Damn, they really took a speed off her General promotion.
I know, right?
It's fine. Amelia's fast enough.
Yeah, it is fine. Like, interestingly for General, like, because of going through Knight, which gives you Lance plus 30, and then going General, which gives you Lance plus 40, you end up with Lance plus 70, which is, like, actually a sizable amount of weapon experience, right?
Yeah, if you, like, want her to use Vidofnir, sure.
So, like, yeah, like, because that's the full amount of weapon experience that you need in order to get from A rank to S rank, 181 to 251 weapon experience. So, yeah. And in terms of what we did to that, I don't think that anyone will be surprised here that we gave General a point of speed.
Yes. Although, interestingly, like, We did give General a point of speed, but I think a funny quirk about Sacred Stone's promotion paths that I think people can forget when they come from modern Fire Emblem games is that promotion gains, or promotions don't affect your growths at all. So, like...
Yeah.
Amelia appreciates the extra point of speed because by the time she promotes, she still needs it, but, like, promoting to General versus promoting to Paladin, the only difference in speed is going to be whatever the promotion gains are.
Yeah, that's why we end up with all, like, the jokes about, you know, here's your Armor Knight without defense, right? Because she doesn't actually have high defense growth.
Yeah, like, Amelia's stats are ultimately going to look fairly similar long-term, regardless of which one you use. So, like, the promotion gains are more about, like, if a unit just needs a little help over a hump, especially with speed, or if they really appreciate a short-term gain in something.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also, like, something else that we did is similar to how we kind of, like, buffed the strength of, like, Great Knight. Generally, we equalized, like, Great Knight's strength gain to that of Paladins, and we also gave, like, extra strength to Great Knight through Knight, giving +1 by going through Knight to Great Knight, and +2 for going to General. I don't know, I think that once again this just kind of, like, comes back to, like, the whole thing of, you know, we really want to, like, let people have fun. We're letting, like, Amelia now have, like, provoke as well. And, like, she'll be fast as a general, right? She'll be fast compared to Gilliam, so, like, you can have a different power fantasy.
Yeah, our logic is kind of like, if Paladin is going to be better than General because it gets 3 more move, we might as well make General have cracked stats, right?
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, like, we have to do something for it. Like, I don't love Armor Knights, but, like, we need to give it something.
Well, I think, like, Armor Knights can at least be fun to use, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
And I think, like, provoke and big stats makes them at least enjoyable for people that like them.
But yeah, that's everything to do with Amelia, and I think that means that I'm going to need to check my length of the recording later, but I think we might have spent like 35 minutes talking about the trainees, and I want to make it clear, the trainees are still bad in this context.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they might be even worse in this context, because like what we've kind of done is we made quite a lot of units better compared to how they are in vanilla. Like, Lute is better, Inez is better because of changes that we made for Naomi, who we've also made better, for instance, right?
Yeah, I actually think Inez is a major benefactor of the quick draw change. Because Inez is like almost good enough.
But like with +4 or potentially +8 damage, like now he's actually got that extra damage boost that could bring him there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, he's probably still going to need some speed help. I'd have to check, but I believe his base stats are very similar to an instant promoted Gerik.
Which is a bit sad for him.
It's just that he's a sniper.
You know, what can you do? But yeah, so that's a very long time spent talking about the trainees, but that's it. That's all. That is all of the stuff. Obviously, that's all for my side of the promotion changes, which means that if you haven't checked it out already, you should go and check out Lizard's side. Where can you find it, Lizard?
Hopefully in your video description.
Yes, it will be in the video description. It will be in the video description.
But yeah, otherwise my channel is Actual Lizard, and you'll find it there.
But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and let us know what you think about all these changes, and yell at us for ruining or buffing your favorite unit, I guess.
Please, it's my favorite.
I know, right? But yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I hope to see you again next time. Until then, have a good one.